You may have heard the term K-shaped economy over the past few months, but what does that actually mean, and does it signal a recession? Local financial professional Ken Calhoun from Open Air Advisors joins us this morning to break down what K-shaped economy is and how people can better prepare their finances to weather it. Good morning, Ken. It is great to see you.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Now, first off, for people hearing this term for the first time, what exactly is a K-shaped economy?
Yeah, so a K-shaped economy is where the spending of the wealthiest families and people in America kind of covers a reduction in spending for everybody else. So this is where, your normal person might be cutting back because of prices or inflation and buying less goods, but that's being made up by the wealthiest Americans going out and buying an extra boat, for example.
So we also hear a lot about recessions. How would you define a recession, and is it tied to it?
Uh, it is somewhat tied to it. The official definition of a recession is two consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. The easy way to think about this is just we're two quarters where we're making less stuff. Now, uh, the real important piece of this is not just is there a recession or isn't there, but what's actually taking place and why. And we're seeing these signs of a recession in the general population, even though the wealthiest among us are doing pretty well as a result of things like inflation, gas prices, things like that.
What does a K-shaped economy look like for everyday people, and how it can impact our finances?
Yeah, well, for preparing for this sort of situation, you should treat this like a standard recession, right? So you're going to see certain companies begin to struggle. That could result in a reduction in hiring. So I would encourage everyone, if you're keeping your 2 to 3 months of savings in your account, which you should be doing, hopefully, it might be good to think about expanding that to 4, 5, maybe even 6 months worth of expenses in case we do get into a extended recession and it's a little bit harder for you to find a job if you were to lose it. Also, paying down high interest rate debt, so credit card debt especially. You want to really solidify your finances in a situation like this so that if the worst happens, you've got some runway and some levers to pull to help you make it through.
Are there any additional steps people can take to, I guess, better protect their finances?
That's most of the things that you can do. There's one last thing I would point to is if you have resources that you can invest in the market, one of the best ways to help defend your wealth from inflation and the increase in costs is to actually have that portfolio well diversified in the stocks. A lot of people see advertisements or get advice from a friend that says, hey, maybe you should go to precious metals or other sorts of investments. And those can absolutely work. But the math tells us that the best way to defend your investments in retirement from inflation and a recession is to actually have exposure and keep exposure in the stock market.
Ken, thank you so much for sharing your advice with us. I always love having financial experts on the show because I feel like it makes me smarter and smarter with my money overall. So thank you so much for being with us here this morning.
Thank you for having me.